This podcast is sponsored by Field Agent Canada.
Phil, I think you know, and most people who know me know, that I'm not a huge fan of demos. I do love the sampling. I want people to try my product, but I'm not convinced that the demos available today for vendors are very effective. I think they chew up a lot of time. There's a lot of product waste, and I'm never convinced that they're actually targeting the right people.
Okay, Smarty Pants, what do you do that's different?
Buy and try from Field Agent. 300,000 consumers in their shopping panel that goes across the country. These people go to the store, buy your product, have to complete a survey on what they loved, what they didn't love about your product. Get that feedback to you as quickly as possible so that you can start making the right decisions.
I like that. I think it's also really great for products that are really difficult to sample.
Absolutely. Shampoo, laundry detergent, toothpaste, deodorant, endless. And you think about it, Phil, these people get to take the product home into their own homes, into their natural environments, and give this stuff a try. It's affordable, it's fast, it's across the country, all cities. It is awesome.
This podcast is sponsored by Field Agent Canada. You guys know us. We don't endorse anyone or any product or any service we don't believe in. We've been customers of Field Agent before. They're amazing. If you need to drive trial, you need Field Agent Canada. Head to www.fieldagentcanada.com to check it out.
Hey, welcome to This Commerce Life, an unscripted podcast that focuses on the stories behind small and independent Canadian retail and Canadian CPG.
What we try and do is deliver or pull out the story of our guests and give them to you. You know, the good, the bad, the ugly of retail and CPG in Canada. We're filling a need because we think that retail is hard on the best of days, but it's also a wonderful, wonderful place to grow up and make your living.
We also think that the industry, nor the people that inadvertently find themselves in the industry, really understand the industry at all. They don't really understand what goes on behind the scenes.
So listen to us, Phil and Kenny. We'll unravel it for you. We'll give you the story. We'll give you the story behind the story.
An early start for me. I swear I'm almost always up at this time, but I'm rarely doing anything important. So
you're still not doing anything important.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, things are well there. Selling lots of broth.
Yeah, actually, it's been a great start to the year so far.
Yeah,
I'm content with it.
That's awesome.
Given all of the ups and downs along the ride, I think that I don't have too much to complain about.
Yeah, it's true. Are you affected at all by the tariffs or what's going on?
No, not
not
necessarily.
Yeah,
a bit with our packaging, but that's like I look at what I'm dealing with compared to others. It's so
yeah, it's so crazy. And then just I guess trying to figure out how to adjust exactly. Well, how to adjust exactly to something that's so inexact, right?
Yeah. And mostly I think it's sympathy stuff for me. Like I look at so many businesses that are really hurting, and it's I feel for the whole situation, because it just sucks when stuff happens that's outside of your control, and you try to control it as best you can, but doesn't work as well as you'd hope. So anyways, lots of great people I've met along the way that are much more stressed about it than I am, but I'm grateful to be where I am.
Yeah. Hopefully we settle in a little. The industry's been a little angry, so hopefully we just settle in a little and let it. The guy's gonna do what he's gonna do, and we kind of just need to move on. So
yeah, you guys have probably a way better finger on the pulse for that than I do, being around in so many different places for what kind of the baseline feeling is.
Yeah.
And is it people of like companies of all sizes that are feeling angry, or is it mostly the ones that are exporting to the US?
Honestly, it's all the way around. Like, because I think anyone who's got packaging or supplies coming from the US, they're upset about it. And then really like simple but not simple things, right? So like I've got to get a garage door replaced, which is super simple. Except it's not simple, right? The guy was like, I don't know what the pricing is. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, how am I supposed to know, right? Like the doors come from the US, right? So like all that, so now they're running around looking for Canadian suppliers, and then but it's almost none of it is made here, right? So, now I'm choosing, like everything else, I'm now choosing between Chinese and American doors. Do you know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, okay, I
Yeah.
think I understand, right? So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's like simple things like that, and then there are folks who have full businesses that they're shipping product over the border. And you kind of go, I don't know what's happening. Like, they don't know what's happening. They don't know if
That's
they're
kind of the scariest part about it is like, that things could wake up tomorrow and be really bad, but
that's right.
for the most part, bullets have been like sort of dodged, but
Yeah,
also maybe not. It's yeah.
yeah, yeah. I just pinged Kenny. I don't know where he is. Um, yeah, he's coming, I think.
Early for Kenny
It's,
too, I guess.
yeah,
Eh?
it's early for him, so he might have slept in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah, yeah.
How's the family?
They're good. They're like I'm at the other end of you, right? So, like my kids are 23, 19, and 17.
Okay, yeah, you're
Yeah,
just about there.
yeah. So they drive, they make their own decisions, they're
Okay.
yeah. So they're great. They're it's kind of end of the year for uni. So one of them is moving home, the other one is relocating to a different spot in Ottawa, right? So I've got one in Ottawa, one about an hour away from us in Waterloo, right? And then the last one is trying to decide where she wants to run away to. So yeah, 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 man. How old are yours?
8, 6, and 3. So
Yeah, I
we're
forgot you had three as well.
yeah, that's right. So my life is full of trampolines and
Yes.
trampolines. That's the big one that I love doing with them. They love doing
Yeah.
it. So that's where we cross over. They would like me to do many of the other things, but I don't play trains or Lego nearly so well as I jump on the trampolines. That's where I live.
Trampolines are the best, right?
Oh,
Like, and
so fun.
then they're small enough that you can make the trampoline experience. You can exit by getting into as long as you get into the trampoline with them, you're doubling the height of whatever they can do immediately, right? So it's
Yeah.
just amazing. Yeah.
And there's so many different games and other things and trampolines are just better than when I was a kid. Like all these mesh things that you can incorporate into the games. Like, man, we're just having a blast. So
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, Kenny's coming.
okay,
Why don't we get started?
sure, I'm
We're
in.
like if you're listening, we've got Sean on. He's going to introduce himself, but like well, one, we love Sean, period. Right? We met Sean at food business planning in Kelowna, and it was super fun. But he's got this great story that he's going to tell in Sean's way. But we're super excited for you to be here. So thanks for this one's. It feels actually long overdue. Like we should have done this a long time ago. But you're here now. So do you want to just introduce yourself and then kind of tell the audience, and then next 40-45 minutes, the time is yours, sir. Like whatever you want to tell us, we'd love to hear about it, and then we'll definitely talk about the bone broth along the way somewhere for sure.
Sounds great. Yeah. I'm Sean Smith, the owner of Wild Moon Organics out of Armstrong, BC. I am not a food person. That's like first and foremost how I would describe myself. I was a lawyer by trade, a municipal lawyer that then went and spent 6 years working for municipalities. Eventually became the chief administrative officer for a smaller BC municipality in Merritt. Loved that experience, loved what I did there, but also found that I just was stressed a lot. Like maybe I didn't practice mindfulness the way I ought to, but I came home and was just kind of like a shell of the self that I had been at various times in my life. And so I knew it. My wife knew it. I just didn't have a lot in the tank for the kids, and I wanted things to be different. And so I started exploring what different could look like in my life, and started trying to work on my wellness as I was going through that process as well. But part of that was looking at a bunch of businesses. Thankfully, we'd made some good financial decisions earlier on in life and done okay with investments. I had some nest egg saved up that we could buy a business and not have to worry too much if there was a period of time where we weren't generating a lot of income. So start looking at businesses, putting in for signing like NDAs, trying to get these packages, looking at a whole bunch of different things, and saw one, kind of maybe a few weeks into my search for an organic bone broth manufacturing company. And it immediately sort of resonated with me because 6 years earlier, I had been really sick, like no 20-something-year-old should ever be. And I was fairly regularly in the hospital after I'd have a bad day of heaving and dry heaving and other things. So they ended up thinking it was cyclic vomiting syndrome. It wasn't a fun time in my life. And so after the second time, 1 week that I was in the emergency room getting IV drip, talked with a naturopathic doctor. They said, hey, your gut and your brain are connected. We can go through this. We can do a bunch of testing, but the short of it is you need to reset your gut. So they put me on a GAPS diet, which for the beginning part was pretty much bone broth. And I'm not like the miracle story that was like, it was the best thing ever. I loved it and it changed my life. I hated it. It was a terrible 10 days. I was a pizza guy, a hamburger guy, potato chips. Like that's where I lived. That's what I enjoyed eating. And so for me, nothing but bone broth was not like this beautiful thing. But I will say my attitude started to change as I started to get better. And I didn't like have this miracle recovery where I never had issues ever again. But that was a start of me becoming a lot more healthy, a lot more functional in my life. And now the issues pretty minimal. I'd say it affects me almost zero. So I attribute that not explicitly to bone broth, by the way. I'm not here like peddling some magical wonder cure. I think it's a great healthy part of an otherwise healthy life. But it's just one component of what did wonders for me. And so I kind of had that experience in the back of my mind. And I'd always used it as a bit of a gut reset whenever, symptoms would come back for me. And so I talked with my wife about this, like, I'm going to put in for a package on this. Like, I have no idea if it's a good business or not, but I liked the idea of it. Then I start looking at the numbers and this actually surprises me. I would like to figure out more about this story because I think we could make this work. I also started diving in headfirst into how the food industry operates. And I will say that at the time I actually committed to buy the business, I didn't know nearly as much as I thought I knew. So that was thankfully it's all gone okay. And there's nothing you can't learn and figure out over time. But there's just a lot more expenses in this game than I think are easy for anyone to capture or understand, even people who have been doing it a long time. I'm realizing more and more that people have no idea what they actually make on their product. They have no clue. And it's like my number one mission in the world to have a seamless understanding of what our product sells for at the end of the day, and how much profit we're making off of each unit. So
I think in there are moments where I think you've actually done it the right way in that you've approached it from the number side, and then because it's easy. I mean, you're in it now, so right? Like, I think when we met Sean, we kept saying things that would kind of make his jaw drop, right? But the other, from the retail side and how outrageous some things are, right? But at the same time, I also think you approaching it from the, is this business healthy? Is it, is this something that can make some money? Actually allows you to look at the business properly and go, it doesn't matter what the craziness is behind the scenes, right? The truth is like, at the end of the day, it's going to make me go bankrupt or it's not, right? So which one is it? And then can I do it? I think it's a really healthy approach. I just don't think it sounds even crazy to say that out loud, but I just don't think most of us approach it that way.
Yeah. And I had a bunch of other sort of weirdo conditions on whatever business I ended up buying. Like I do other things. I also work in real estate, private equity, raising capital for larger real estate deals, do financial underwriting for those deals. And I'm not, every once in a while I do something for municipal clients that, reach out. So I've got other things that I do that I think are more like stable and reliable. This was more, I need something that has, maybe 5 to 10 hours a week. Like I needed it to be very low commitment. But I also wanted something that was radically different. I wanted something that I could get my kids involved with that felt like it was kind of a lower stakes business. And I don't mean that as just to slight anybody in the industry, but it just felt like, this is a small little company, this is the kind of thing I could take my kids to farmers markets and go do packaging with them on Saturdays. And, there was sort of a vision that this could be a fun little family venture.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely been that. And so I'm really grateful for that. And so I knew that I wanted it to, have a healthy amount of profit for the time that I put into it. And quite frankly, every decision that I make with the company is still sort of made under that same lens. I don't know if I want to do this because that might put me at 15 hours a week. That's
we love that about you. Just so you know, we love that about you. We actually talk about you a lot.
Because it's not normal.
Yeah.
Like it's just not. It's because you didn't approach. I think you went to pick up what Phil starts and both are saying as I just wake up. It's a different approach in that most of the entrepreneurs that come into these spaces are driven by emotion. The vast majority of all the decisions are emotional. Very little financial. Like truly just everything on emotion. And it's the only way to approach a business really and truly, it doesn't matter who you talk to, is financially. The business is either going to make you money or it's not going to make you money. And you can have all the dreams and aspirations, and that's great. And that's what a lot of entrepreneurs do. And thank God, because sometimes that's
why they jump in with both feet and do amazing things.
Well, that's just it, right? They just don't think it all through, and they just run. And you've now, Sean, you've seen it. You've seen it.
I kind of admire it. Like, I'm not saying that.
Nor am I. I'm not saying this right, or I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's just it's not a typical, nothing that Phil and I will see. I'm sure Phil could say the same. It's rarely what we see. It is typically, I have an idea. It's the best idea in the world. It's got to work. It's not out there. Nobody's doing it. It's always those, it's all these absolutes. And I'm going to do this, and it's going to be, and
everyone will agree, and it'll be the best thing ever, and it'll take off, and somehow I'll make millions.
Exactly. And you're thinking, all right,
But
do you know what's going to cost you?
But
no
it's
clue.
even less rational, right? Like if you kind of go, because when you go buy a car, you kind of go, here's the sticker tag, here's what it costs, and then here's what I need every month, right? Nobody ever says, well, listen, if I only drive it between 6 and 8 every morning, and then if I, if I get 4 people out to push it for half of it, I'll make enough gas money so that eventually I'll make all the delivery drops I can, and then one day I will make money, right?
Yeah, and as
Nobody
long as
ever
gas
looks
is
at a
not
car
over
that way, right? Like,
$1.36.
yeah, not one person, right? Not one person goes, this is how I'm going to make the car work for me. They all go, I can afford the car, or I can't,
Cool
or the
car.
loan is too insane, I'm not doing it. But yet in a business, that's what people do, right? Is they go, listen, like I don't roll down the windows ever. I'll save a little bit, and that'll save me a little extra gas. If I pick the route that has as many downhills as I can possibly get, then I also save some gas. Maybe I can turn off the car and put it in neutral, so I save a little more gas. Like nobody,
And I
if
don't
I
even
make
think,
my
and
own
I think,
tires, right? If I make my own tires, I will save some money.
I
Nobody
don't even
does
think they
that.
do
And
that.
yet,
I think you're full of
no, but
shit. I
in
don't even
this
think they get that
business,
far. I think, you know what?
yeah.
Clearly, it's a new car and it's pretty. It's got to be good on
No, but
gas.
that's my
And why
point,
would
right?
I worry about that
In
anyway?
this industry, that's exactly what we do. Is we go, I really love the windshield. I think I'll just build a car around it, and one day it'll be a business, right? You kind of go like,
Absolutely.
what are we doing, right? So we kind of
Yeah,
love, yeah,
I think that I'll give people maybe one step further of credit. That I think
yeah,
they, for the most part, can figure out like their cogs. Like, okay, it only cost me $5 to make this
yeah,
thing. And there's people who will buy it for 10.
yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, that's the worst business ever freaking run. Like, you can't make a business out of that, right? Unless you're doing it at farmers markets for funsies, and this is something that like enriches your life, then great, have at it. Like but you're not doing it for a business reason.
No.
I think that's maybe where people struggle a little bit more, is realizing that in what you make something for and what people will pay for it, there needs to be a way bigger gap there than I think kind of somebody who maybe doesn't have experience with business. Or, for me, I didn't know food, but I did know what profit looked like. So
But they don't do the math. It's totally nobody. And I tell, like Phil's example is sort of clear in that it's always I'll use absolutes because this is like almost always. It really is. When I get to a billion, it'll cost less to make this. So don't worry about it now, because when I get bigger, then I'm going to do.
It makes me laugh. I love it. I look at that and I say, shoot, I don't want to be anywhere near a business that big. No. Like, let me stay small with things I can understand, with processes that make sense to me. All the time the answer is, hey, can you scale up and do more? Yeah, I probably could, but I don't really need to for what we are. And the things that I could scale up for would introduce more hassle and stress into my life that put me over my hour requirement.
Just so listeners don't get us wrong, but I think, like, I watched Sean listen to a lot of the groups when we were there, and you can see that I think in a lot of ways, like, he's even thinking, fuck, that's really cool drive. That is like really cool to have that inspiration. It's really cool to be that sort of gung-ho. Like, it's really cool.
I want it.
But you got to have a business sense too. Like, it's kind of a marriage of both, because it is fun to watch people get so stoked about what they're doing, and the story's great and the product's really cool, but you kind of just wish they had the math a little bit better. But you kind of really love watching this enthusiasm and like just passion, right? Yeah. It's awesome. But you need finances too.
Secretly, I think that I might end up just like going around and tapping the shoulders of all of the really cool, amazing entrepreneurs and be like, do you want a partner? Because like, I'll do your back end stuff. and you just go be the food person. Because here's at the end of the day, like in Wild Moon world, we need to launch some new products. You think I'm good at product testing? No, like I taste them like that's delicious. That's delicious. I don't know. Like everybody else that I listen to in Founderland in CPG is like, oh, this is really acid forward. I think this is the one. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about right now. Like you are so far out of my world. It's just tasty. And I love that. And I want some of that in my life, but there's some things we need to roll out and do as a company. And I know I'm not the guy to be doing it. And hey, we're going to go to CHFA at the end of the month, and I'm going to be way out of my element, and it'll be fun. And I'm sure I'll meet lots of new people, but I got to go do food things. And like that causes me stress and anxiety. And I'm excited to talk with people. And I hope that they're gentle, and I hope that my booth doesn't look terrible by comparison and all these other things. But this causes me way more stress than like automating file flow so that I don't have to do anything on my business. That's like where I live and what makes me comfortable and happy.
You just made like half our audience drop of a heart attack. Like you said,
there's a lot of cringing thinking, what? What?
Yeah, like my favorite thing in the world is, man, I'm getting way too many emails for purchase orders. I need to set up a macro so that it automatically downloads these, uploads them to my Google Drive, and inputs it into a spreadsheet so that I don't have to do it, and my money person can do all of that for me. And that way I can just do nothing. That's where I live. I want to do nothing as often as possible. But the problem is then I get bored.
Yeah.
Because I need more things like that. And so I start like looking at other businesses.
If anyone wants to trade Sean, I feel like a trade could happen here is if you want to trade him a rocking bone broth product for automated flows, you should contact Sean.
I would.
I feel like that's a
there's a trade here. There's a trade
definitely a trade here. There's some synergies to be had. And I'm fairly sure you're gonna need a macro because like the entire audience is going to be calling you because they're all the
yeah, and it's so much easier today than I think people recognize. Like you don't need coding experience. Like you can use pretty readily existing tools and drag and drop stuff to create apps for form entry that does kind of everything you would need to do. Like I have a Wild Moon Organics app. Was that hard to create? No, it was super easy. Do my employees use it in order to put in batch records and logs? Yes. When I have, people doing product samples, do they put in, all of the information at the end of the form and it all gets uploaded so I can look at the exact notes for every single demo that's ever happened? Like, yes. So it's really not that hard these days. You don't have to be like technologically savvy. You have to look around for a few minutes and know what's possible. So
that's awesome.
But you get that side. It is, and for others, what they just heard? They just heard. I have no idea what he said.
Yeah.
Something about an app, and then someone uploaded something somewhere. I don't know what he meant.
All I can say is that if there is a repetitive task that you or anyone else does, there is a way to make sure that you don't ever have to touch it again, and it won't take you very long.
So let's make sure that you guys know what you're trading for.
Yeah,
because I really do feel like they're, when this comes out, people are going to be like, wait, where do I get his number? How do I? Do you want to tell them about your bone broth and the company so they kind of understand? I will say before he starts that Sean brought this in, and you guys know how I feel about coffee, and this might be the only product I've had so far that I potentially might trade in the morning for my coffie.
That's a big say.
That's a big one. Wow.
I'm saying,
you're gonna make me blush over here.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Anyway,
this might be emotional for Sean. Just
tears coming down my eyes. I can't handle this. So we make organic and beef, organic chicken and beef bone broth. I don't think that there's anything wildly revolutionary about bone broth. We have a bunch of ingredients and maybe a different process that will make it so we're getting more from the bones we use. We simmer for 42 hours in like a gigantic sealed cooker, which from lab testing that we did does yield higher protein count than you would otherwise get. And we also include a bunch of herbs and spices that have, I hate health claims. I feel like this is the one thing that I didn't understand about the industry is I can't really say anything about my product because like it does things for you. Look it up yourself because I can't say what any of these things do. Although all the competitors say it all the time.
So read their package, just come by mine.
Yes, like it's kind of messed up. I don't really get how nobody gets in trouble for food claims, but I'm a rule follower at the end of the day. I get it. I'm not gonna say things because I don't want anybody to be misled by our product, but I think it's healthy for you. You can think whatever you want, and that's where we'll live. But we take a lot of care to make sure that we're putting out what we think is the highest quality product that's available in the market. And we package it in what looks like Haagen-Dazs ice cream containers and sell it in retail stores across BC. So we're in about 150 stores now in BC, which is probably most of the ones that we can feasibly be in. I've got maybe another 30 smaller ones to add. And then we ask the question as to whether we end up pursuing Save On or not. But those are the stores we're in. We're really happy with how we're doing in sales. We are either the leading or one of the leading bone broths in just about every store we're in. So we're pretty happy with how things are going there. I don't have a huge kind of growth avenue left unless I were to leave BC or introduce new products. So right now we're really focused on trying to increase like same store sales, trying to do some different things there with pricing strategies and promotions. And I know how much Kenny loves demos, but demos have been great for us because
they work. It's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's bone broth is a really niche product to start with. But I found that people are very loyal. Our customers are quite sticky. In fact, I just had lunch with one of them last Thursday after she ordered 10 cases of bone broth. Like, I'm not talking individual units, 10 cases of 12 units each. And she's like, oh no, I'll never be without a 6-month supply of your broth, and I'll drink one until the day I die. Like one every day until the day I die. Like I took a picture of it. She's got a dedicated freezer that there was still 4 cases left in there when I dropped off the last 10 just for a chat. She's like 14 cases, and the only thing that's in it, a huge, massive ice chest, is my bone broth. And like, I love talking with these people and understanding why, but they're not all like that, but lots are, where I look at this, I'm like, you buy more than whole grocery stores. Like,
so what is it? Like what, because you're tapping in, like, because that's not normal either, clearly, right?
No. Yeah. I think that's completely normal. Like what isn't normal? Like, how much coffee do you have in the house, Kenny? Like, would you ever be out of coffee? Like, I will never be out of coffee. Like, when the pandemic happened, everyone's buying toilet paper. You know what I'm buying? I'm buying coffee.
Yeah. Well, I buy everything that way.
Because I can wash my butt. But I can wash my butt. But I can't grow coffee beans. It's not a thing, right? And I'm also not making bone broth. So, like, if I actually pull the trigger and I switch to Sean's bone broth in the morning, over my dead body, I'm going to run out of bone.
It's 6 months.
I'm just saying that if you do the math on coffee beans, it's not.
I get it, but I do that because I don't like running out. I always have an extra olive oil, always extra coffee. There's most of the things in the food world. I'm like you. I have, because I don't want to run out of those, because I don't want to have to run to the store.
That's right.
In a pinch to buy something silly like oil. Why would I have to? Yeah. Like, why would you not have extra oil in the house? There's no, to me, conceptually, that makes no sense. You don't need an olive grove, and a pallet in the garage.
That actually doesn't sound terrible, but yeah,
you don't do that, Sean. That's okay.
So I actually think that it's a neat key indicator, because maybe what it means is you've kind of made it onto a list of essential products, if you will, right? Like, you are clearly an essential product for the person. So you find more of those guys, and all of a sudden you're selling 6 month stocks to people.
But that's not normal either. In all honesty, most want to do not what you're doing. I'm sorry. Most will do this. I'm in 10 stores. I need to be in 30 stores. I'm in 30. I should be in 3,000. It's all about that. You are talking about, I'm in 150 stores. I feel, for whatever reasons, I'm almost tapped out of store growth count. I can maybe do another 30 stores kind of thing. That's what you said. So what do I do at that point? I'm not worried about getting to 1,800 stores. What I'd really like to do now is double down on the 150, 180 I have. And how do I grow these so that I don't have to go anywhere else? I don't have to drive any farther. This is it. But now, can I grow this set? That in itself usually is not the mind of an entrepreneur CPG. It's really not. It's about, you get this block, now we go to the next block. And, we just keep going as far away from home as possible.
Yeah.
Not right or wrong. There's no, it doesn't matter.
The systems for it, bigger is not a problem. Like, I don't really do anything. Like, distribution takes care of. Yeah. If I add more stores, nothing changes in my life, right? No. Like, that's just fine. It's more, we have capacity to do more. And if they were easy to add on, I would say yes in a heartbeat. But if I have to, go across provincial lines and introduce regulatory hurdles and other things that make my life harder, then
you don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's just more.
But again, that's
you always have to weigh it.
Yeah, it's usually people will find ways and do or push it, or that's sort of in the dream. Again, it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong, and I don't care.
Yeah.
So, Sean, where are you now? Like, if you're not, are you across the province now then, or is it still predominantly the Okanagan?
No. We're across the province.
Yeah. Island, up north, all over.
We're more limited up north from a distribution perspective. We are in some of the stores, but we're not. Yeah, we're more limited up north. Definitely, we cover the interior fairly well. So if there's a Thrifty's, Safeway, Nature's Fair, Whole Foods, like we're in it, and so for the most part, we're in a kind of a comfortable spot with where our broth is sitting. Always wanted to sell more, but I'm not unhappy. I think we're up 47% from Q1 2025 versus Q1 2024. So like, we're growing faster than I think a lot of other companies. So
is that it? Like, come on, man, come on, pick up your socks and let's.
I mean, I would have not said anything until I was at least at 51, but that's 47.
Yeah, it was a really good quarter. We spent a little bit more in order to go out and get those top line sales, but even then, for me, I'm always thrilled, because if we make more, our average cost per unit comes down, because I still got to pay the lease. I've got to pay for a bunch of other fixed costs that, so even though you have to spend a little bit more to go get that, I'm making the same amount per unit, because my costs are coming down, or my average cost per unit is coming down, I should say. And so really, profit was up by a similar number. And so give me that all day long. Like, if I can do that without increasing my work outlay, I'll take it. But that's always going to be the metric that I make decisions on, is is it going to give me more bottom line for the effort that I would put in? Is that going to be a good return?
Yeah. I like the numbers to exceed my effort.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that's out there. And, maybe like for me, that is now moving back into, there's some things I would need to do with food in order to go pick up some low-hanging fruit. I would need to introduce some new products. And Like there's stuff that I don't really know about that you guys would laugh your head off. And everybody listening to this would laugh their head off at me. Like I had GS1 call me and they're like, hey, you haven't renewed anything. I'm like, what the freak is GS1? Like, I don't even know what this
Who are
is.
you?
I bought this business. Like somebody else set all these barcodes up. I had no idea. And then I go and I log into this account and I'm like, oh yeah, he did. The previous owner did tell me about this. I just like must have put it in the recesses of my mind and forgot about it. I'm like, oh, you have a bunch of other barcodes for products that I didn't even know about. Like I feel so dumb sometimes that I just laugh at myself and I'm thinking like,
I'm surprised you didn't sell it when you logged into GS1. Like most of us,
we cringe.
You log into GS1 and then everyone goes, you know what? Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe I don't need to sell anything.
Yeah.
I just go back to a job. Like, because, this thing.
Yeah, usually that's enough to break it.
Yeah. But they send you a letter and then it's like, we could notify all the retailers that you are not in compliance. I'm like, oh geez, I think I've like violated some serious cardinal sin up in here. And and once I call them, like, no, we send these out all the time. Like,
yeah, you're just late with money.
This is not really a big deal. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Just your credit card wasn't up to date. That's all. It's all good in the hood. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So we've got little things like that I think other people can kind of just like shrug off are sometimes really big for me. Or if I want to make packaging changes, other people are like, man, there's no big sweat for me. I'm like, man, do I even have the files? Like there's things that get lost in the purchasing of a business, right? And you talk to the owner and you go back and like, I don't even know if we have the files for our packaging. Like, I guess I will modify this low res version. Nah, I'm not going to do that. I guess we'll recreate it and have subtle differences. And it like little things that seem easy for other people end up being kind of larger hurdles for me, but it keeps it fun.
I think that keeps it interesting, but it's also the part that, and this is where like when we do a lot of the talking is things like that. Those are good, and it's good that many are capable of doing that without anxiety, etc. And that's all good. But really, the most important part is still the money, because without the money, you don't have GS1 to talk to, and you can't do packaging. So really, it doesn't matter if you don't focus on the most important part of the business, which is the profitability of the business, which we always try to ram down people. That's why we use your example so much, is we don't use you to say, listen, this is how you cheerlead for your brand. You're not in that conversation. We love you, but you're not part of that conversation.
You're a terrible cheerleader, Sean. You are the worst.
We didn't say terrible. We said we don't use you as sort of the poster boy for that world. What we do tell people is say, listen, if you want to know to the penny what your business is doing, that's the guy you watch, because that is the important part. It fuels everything. The more pennies you have, the more shit you can do.
Yeah,
not rocket science, right?
It is true,
and it is the most important part, because at the end of the day, a successful business drives more passion than just absolute stress, anxiety, and losing money. I mean, you can have all the passion you want, but the idea is, I'd love to be able to fuel this passion and this excitement with a profitable business. I don't care if you just break even. It's not the goal, but I feel so bad for watching so many people. They're so in it, and you're thinking, God Almighty, like the light at the end of the tunnel, so far away.
Yeah,
hard to watch.
I think the only way that I really feel bad is if they don't know that. Like, is that they because it's an interesting industry the way cash flow works. That's again something I don't think I fully appreciated. That you've got money that goes out in order to go buy supplies and ingredients and pay your people, and it goes out, and your money comes in very often very large chunks, but late, slow. Like that's how this industry works. Like,
and with deductions.
Yeah, exactly. And so you think you've got hey, I'm pretty sure I've got 18 grand coming in the next couple weeks. And then you're calling and hey, this is not what I thought I had coming. What's going on here? And so I think that it can be a very, it's hard to know what you have coming. It's hard to know, again, what your wholesale base price is. You know what you've invoiced for, but you have no clue what's coming back. And there are some things that we've done to try and get a way better handle on that. So I actually think we do have a pretty darn good idea now, but we also do weird things and in order to avoid MCBs that get there. Anyways.
But that's fine. It doesn't matter how you play the game. The fact he's understood, it's the money aspect. Because to your point, a lot of people will do. I've got $10,000 in sales. In theory, what does that mean? You get $10,000 back someday. So it could be 30 days, could be 45, could be 60. And then when you get the check back, you're thinking, that's weird. I wonder why they're just doing it in 2 checks. Why is this one only worth about $7,000? The 3 must be coming. Maybe they just didn't have enough in their bank. And you just and then you think, anybody seen that $3,000 check? Because it's not full yet.
Yeah.
Not realizing there's a whole bunch of other shit that came off.
I think that it can be challenging. And I suspect that part of the problem is that a lot of companies could use a little bit of capital injection in order to make it so it's not stressful to
they don't know that though.
Have to manage through that. If you as a business, if every receivable that you have was to be delayed by 30 days, 60 days,
what happens?
Where would your business be? And if the answer to that isn't just fine, probably need a little bit more capital in your business. And I say that maybe because I just don't like being stressed out, and I want to know that people get paid and that I can go buy product and do whatever I want to do, sign contracts to make videos or whatever it is that food companies do that I'm still learning about. That you can do that without having to worry do we have the funds to cover it? And
most don't have that runway though, Sean. You've seen it now. Most have.
I know they don't
have enough that at 31 days they're in trouble because the whole world's been based on 30 and really tight 30. And we do try to tell people, listen, you probably need 3 to 6 months of runway because things will get late, things will get delayed, things will happen that it's starting to sell and then someone triples an order and you need to go buy things, and those people want to be paid quickly, and you're not going to get paid quickly. Do you have?
It's true.
Can you breathe?
It's amazing to me how much suppliers love you if you can pay quickly. I get different response because if you send me an invoice, you're going to get paid the next day, maybe 2 days. That's how we live. And so I've got people that I know I'm getting fantastic service. If I ever have any issues with anything, they bend over backwards. And I think that maybe that's just because they're awesome businesses and great people. But I also think in part it's because we pay really, really quickly and reliably. We're a good customer and they know it. And, they don't want to lose that. And so I think that when you can do that, it actually opens up, some unique avenues and has actually helped monetarily for our company.
Oh, 100%.
I had one with packaging, for example, where the company was great to deal with, but we had an issue on the packaging run where we were having some burst seams, and I was saying, hey, I needed I know this sounds bad, but we need to do a full reprint because sure, about 94% of these cups, I actually scienced it out what the number were. 94% of these cups are fine. But the problem is that if I am running a 6% loss on every batch, that's the whole thing doesn't work. And I can't tell beforehand which cups are good and which cups are bad. For me, this whole batch is bad. And I think that because anyways, I'd helped them earlier, and they actually had a wrong billing where they charged me too little, and I pointed it out, and so they were forever grateful to me. And so that when I ended up coming back and saying, hey, I don't know what to tell you, but this just doesn't cut it, they were so fast to say, hey, we'll redo the whole thing, and pay for shipping and everything else, which is exactly where I would expect somebody to land anyway. Right. But I think because of the experience that I had with them, it made it so it was a non-issue.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah. Treat people well. Treat your employees well. You just never want anyone to feel stressed as to whether they're going to get paid. And if you can convey that by how you treat others, even if you're not getting that yourself, because I've got high degree of confidence we're going to get paid eventually, but you feel like you're not important. That's what the food industry tells you, is you're not really all that important.
No,
you'll take
they tell you that every day,
and you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you won't be in our store.
What's next for you? What do you got to do? What do you want to do? You know, I think because your version of happiness is also different from many.
New products and package redesign. I think that's what Sean was saying before. It's going to be his excitement.
Hey guys, I got like a website that's been 90% finished for 6 months, and I haven't gotten it across the finish line. Like, there's stuff that I don't care about, but I also have learned that I don't think anybody visits our website. So, maybe it's because it's trash. But if any of you guys are website people, and I've already paid multiple people to do this, so like, you're actually good at it, not just pretending to be good, give me a call. We're in. But what's next for me? I've actually been focused on a lot of non-food stuff lately. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on this podcast. Training for an Ironman.
Don't give us anything trade secret. So if it's confidential,
don't say it.
Don't say it. But other than that,
yeah. No, it's personal stuff. Business, I'm in a happy spot with that. I'm training for an Ironman in kind of the personal life right now, so I'll run that in Cozumel in November. So I joined a UBC study where they take a bunch of people who've never exercised in their life, fat, lazy adults, and test what happens to their body as they kind of undertake a fairly intensive exercise program. That sounded like fun to me. I don't know if it's like midlife crisis stuff, but that's where I'm at. So I went from, I could swim like 25 meters and was like, this is stuff. And, yesterday I went in for like a casual 2.7 kilometer swim while I was, hanging out with my kids' school class who was at the pool for a field trip, doing chaperoning for that. Like, my life is, I get to spend a lot more time with kids. I get to exercise. I'm still doing some of the finance work, although that's been a little bit slower just because I think a lot of the best deals are in the US right now. As you can imagine, there's an uncomfortable tension with that. And so I've had a little bit of time to focus on some other things in the middle of all that. We continue to grow the products that we have. I've got a plan, like I say, to get into about 30 more stores here for Wild Moon. But there's lots of things that could be done that I think are still low-hanging fruit for the right person, but maybe not low-hanging fruit for me. Happy to pay good people to do it. Just don't want to have to pay multiple times for stuff. That's where I live. I don't know.
I think so one is, I don't know what your almost done website looks like. The one you have now has some holes in it, but it's not crazy. And I think you could use some SEO that would probably I feel like you have this consumer group that if you could tap them through searches, you'd grow even more organically. Like I think your 150 stores plus the people online, like I think you could. I think
I
I
think
think
you're
there's
right.
extra there. I think there's extra there. Yeah.
I actually think there's a lot of juice there for the right
Yeah.
person. And I don't have to look all that far at other companies that are doing well in that space. I looked at, what would it look like to do some form of direct, like DTC, with, trying to ramp up the website and trying to get more traffic on that side. Logistics for frozen products are not impossible, but they're challenging. And they were challenging enough that, again, it was running into if I do this business is going to look different. It's going to be bigger in terms of the time outlay, like for sure it's going to be bigger, just because you're talking with the end users. Except for like the extreme clients, like I gave you the example of earlier, I've got maybe 20 customers that order enough that they reach out directly. For the most part, everybody is getting their products through the store and I never see them. And I love the people who purchase us for food product, but I really love the people who kind of, as we talked about earlier, incorporate us into their life. They see us as a health product that they're not going to do without. And in that world, I would love to find a lot more of those people. And I think that you don't have to find that many of them in order for this to be a very lucrative thing. I acknowledge that I have limitations with my skill set in figuring out how to get those people and then structure the business so that it's not a chaotic Canada Post mess.
Right.
Yeah. And to be clear, like I don't think your model sounds just fine, but I do think I look at your stuff and I think there are people out there who are already sold on bone broth who just don't know you are there. You know what I mean? Like, because there is a cachet of folks that understand all of these things without you having to do anything. I just happen to think that of all the ones that we tried, yours is the best or among the best, right? And so I think we just got to find those guys, and that's where the SEO thing pops for me, right? That's my thing where I go to do what you do to make some tweaks in your SEO. That's it, right? And then you find people that find you. People find you and they go to the store. That's it. Like, so we just got to get the top of the funnel bigger for you. That's all.
Right.
Super wise. I think you're very right, and I acknowledge it.
Love
Very
it.
cool.
You are doing some amazing things, friend, and then you sound amazing, which is look amazing, sound amazing, which I think is
Pretty
also
cool.
really important. Well,
just the second blush in one podcast. This is getting embarrassing, Phil.
Listen, we see a lot of entrepreneurs that say
I'll balance it out.
right?
I'll balance it out. I won't say anything.
Kind of like, you see a lot of like, you can see it. They're stressed, right? Like stress. Like one founder who's doing amazing things, and every time we meet him, we go, "Hey, how are you doing?" And he goes, "I'm crispy." Like I'm crispy, right? Like I'm just so burnt out. I'm crispy, right? And you're kind of going, like you've got to do it because you built the model that way, right? But again, it's kind of this like just not what are you focused on, right? Like so I really love that you're focused on the things that are important to you. So
yeah,
cool.
I think that there's a way to do business that doesn't stress you out, but it also means there's going to be a cap on what your business looks like, and that's a tough thing for a lot of people to be okay with. Like you aren't going to be Manitoba Harvest unless you grind. Like there's a way that if you want a certain storyline to be the storyline that is associated with you, you got to do the things that get you there. And I'm not doing those things with this company. I'm looking at this much more practically and saying, you know what? I would love to maximize my lifetime capital gains exemption for me and my wife. I think that is going to be a great windfall for our family. And in order to get there, I only need to sell this thing for $2.6 million. what do I need to grow my profit to in order to sell this to $2.6 million? What actions do I need to take in order to get the profit to $697,000 that is likely going to put me in a spot where I can sell the business for that much? Like, it's not that complicated when I work backwards with what I think is a very humble, reasonable goal. Right. And if you can take a $2.6 million windfall tax-free, like, there aren't that many ways to avoid taxes legally in our world. And I think, that and the like tax-free savings account, there's vehicles that people need to be taking advantage of from a financial perspective, completely independent of food. And so I'm just about kind of maximizing those vehicles. If it works, great. And if it doesn't work, it's been super fun and interesting, and my life has been enriched because of it. But I also recognize that it's a really privileged position to be able to say that your company could go bankrupt and you'd still be okay. That's why I don't feel stressed. And, if you're not there, that doesn't mean that you can't get there. But that's why I can make the decisions I do. And I feel really privileged and fortunate to be in that spot.
Very cool.
I like it.
Very
It's
cool.
awesome. It is awesome.
Very cool.
Thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
You bet.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Thank you for doing this. We'll talk to you. We'll talk to you soon. We talk to you all the time. And enjoy your weekend with your family.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Have a good weekend, buddy boy.
Appreciate you as always. We'll talk again.
Okay. Take care, Sean.
Ciao.
Bye.
He's
good morning.
As always. Balanced.
He's an interesting guy. Like, he's just got a different. He's got a really healthy approach to business.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's just a healthy approach to business.
Okay. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, everybody.